Titanium Performance here, and today I'm talking about momentary muscular failure. And momentary muscular failure can sound really intimidating, but really what it means is it can mean two things. The first one being that you're moving and all of a sudden you get to a point where you can't move the weight anymore, or you're losing form during an exercise. And so the first one, what that looks like is when you can't physically move the weight, is we start out in high intensity training, we're only doing one set. So you start nice and slow off the bottom of an exercise and you start moving it, and the weight should feel like you can tolerate that weight, and you are using slow twitch muscle tissue to start. What that means is it's aerobic, not just because we're moving slow, but if you set the weight down, that muscle tissue would recover and you would be able to do that again. But if we keep that muscle tissue under tension and continue moving through that range of motion without rest or momentum, that muscle tissue is going to get tired, and then you're going to start recruiting your fast twitch muscle fibers. And what that does is that's where the strength building really happens. So when you're strength training, you're creating these micro tears in the muscle, and continually loading those will keep recruiting more and more muscle tissue until you get to a point where if you're moving slow and controlled, you will no longer be able to lift that weight. And that is momentary muscular failure. So you want to, at that point, focus on keeping really good form. You don't want to be wiggling. You don't want to be trying to use a different muscle to get that next rep. We want to fail in good form, because that is what stimulates your body's natural adaptation system to be like, I couldn't finish this exercise. When I'm recovering, I don't want to just build up to the same amount of muscle tissue I had, but I actually want to build up a little bit stronger and a little bit more. So then next time, if you were to put on that same weight and move through that exercise, maybe you would be able to get a couple more reps, or maybe you would be able to increase that weight a little bit. So that is momentary muscular failure if you can't move the weight. Another example of momentary muscular failure is if your form starts to break down. So especially if you're a beginner or you've had an injury, sometimes say you're doing something like a chest press and you hurt your left shoulder and you're easing back in, your left arm might start to give out before your right, and then your form kind of gets off because you're twisted. That's where we would be conscious of when your form starts to break down. So you might be able to push through a couple more, but it starts looking uneven or choppy. That can also be momentary muscular failure, and then we adapt that for the person based on the individual and the injury and what we're working on. But we never want to lose form in an exercise, and you'll hear us talk a lot about that and why it's so important. But that is momentary muscular failure. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments or see us on our website, tp-strength.com.